And Webster, the member for Mallee, thanks for joining us again on Flow.
Oh, you are very welcome, Ricky.
Thank you. Look, we're not going to get spiritual. We're going to talk about the Wimmera Cathedral. There's a great grant that's going towards the stick shed.
Look, it certainly is $67,000 to assist with replacing 15 damaged poles. I was down there a couple of days ago. I am always in awe of that building. You know, you walk in there and it's like, oh my Lord, this is amazing. And, I can just see weddings and events, and it's just magnificent. But of course, it does need lots of money to keep it safe, and also for some of those events to take place, they also need more money, they were saying, for appropriately heritage-approved doors so that emergency vehicles and so forth can actually get in there, which of course they've never had to before. All of our rules around health and occupational health and safety have changed over the years significantly, and look, it's just a stunning building. I so encourage people, if they've not been down there, to go and have a look and have a cup of coffee, of course, with the Wild Duck Cafe that's parked out the front. Fantastic.
Yeah. For those that aren't familiar with the structure, just give us a bit of background, why it came into existence and just how big it is.
Yeah, it is massive. It was built was completed in 4 months, which is just extraordinary, in 1942 to hold grain. So during the war, obviously a very precious commodity, and we were doing all kinds of storage systems to protect our capacity to feed ourselves, fundamentally. And it is beyond massive. There are figures, I don't have them in front of me, but you have to see it to believe it. And the way it worked with the conveyor belt sitting right at the top of this building, which you can just see, fed the grain all the way along. The railway tracks are right next door to it. It was just really quite phenomenal. We like to think we're very smart this century, but I tell you what, they had hands down some incredible innovation back then.
Yeah, Northwest Victoria, when it comes to agriculture, has been renowned for agricultural innovation since colonisation, really. Look,
absolutely.
When it comes to, I guess, another essential part of infrastructure, not just storage, but when it comes to moving goods on the roads, there's been some important improvements when it comes to the bridges in your electorate as well.
Look, we've got some tremendous bridge replacements going on at the moment. Albucacha comes to mind, and of course the Swan Hill Bridge, which is still being stalled by state governments, but I'll leave that there. $60 million has certainly been allocated by us for the Swan Hill Bridge. Locals are very frustrated about that. We have just announced an additional $40 million for the Bridges Renewal program, to produce freight productivity, of course, and safety in regional roads. So an extra $10 million is being injected into the program each year for the next 4 years, increasing the annual funding under the program to $95 million. So governments can apply for the old bridges being replaced, or strengthening, or widening, or upgrading floodways to bridges. So, it started in 2015-16 and it's supported 730 projects so far. So we want to see some more Mallee bridges being replaced and reconstructed.
Now, we talked about agriculture just moments ago. A press release I've got to hand from Tony Burke MP about the labour hire system. He's claiming that labour hire companies with a history of ripping off workers has been approved to bring migrant workers in under the new ag visa. He says if reports in the 9 newspapers are correct, he said one company reportedly was suspended from another migrant worker scheme for paying people as little as $8 an hour. What's the intention of this labour hire system and the need to get people in through the ag visa?
Look, the labour hire system is a very important process of being able to bring in immigrants to work on farm. It's been used for quite some time. At the moment, we have a fragmented system. We don't have a national approach. I've long been pushing for a national regulatory system in collaboration with the states and, for things like tax file numbers to be applied as soon as somebody is coming or lands in Australia. So their tax file number, they can be traced effectively. We need a single touch payroll system, again, for accountability's sake, so that people cannot fall through the cracks and be paid cash. Of course, there are those who can always find a way around any system. And I really like the idea of a digital check-in system, as we've had through COVID, but for workers, so that farmers, when they come onto their properties, can really know that this person is legit and they have an appropriate visa and they are allowed to work. It just provides assurance to everyone. And in fact, today, after many months of postponement, I have 4 departments: the Department of Agriculture, Department of Home Affairs, Department of in terms of skills visa, and the other Department of Home Affairs status resolution, and the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade coming to Euston, and they are going to be meeting with people that we have invited to 3 roundtables. One will be labour hire contractors, another will be producers and immigrant workers. I am really looking forward to that. And so we will be ensuring that the people who come to 2 meetings, labour hire, and the other one is growers and workers, and we're ensuring that the departments hear what it's really like on the ground, what the issues are from a grassroots level. I think too often we have bureaucrats in Canberra making the decisions for those who live it out on the basis of, thinking that really doesn't get it, really doesn't understand what goes on. So I've been pushing for these roundtables for, 12 months. COVID has just made a complete mess of it. And so we're looking forward to having that feedback and the stakeholder meetings.
How are we travelling in terms with the ag visa with regard to getting countries to sign on to send workers or approve them to come to Australia under the ag visa? Has there been any improvement on that front? It was slow going at first.
It is still slow going. Ultimately, it's in the hands of the Minister, Maurice Payne, and Foreign Affairs. And so she is negotiating with Vietnam, is my understanding. We're really hoping that is finalised and that will see a flow-on effect where other countries come on board as well. It is incredibly disappointing that it has taken this long and that we still don't have the deal done. Very, very, very disappointed, along with all the producers, if it is not done before the election is announced.
Yeah, I can't pull up for you the commentary right now from David Littleproud, your Nationals colleague, but he's been fairly bullish in his commentary towards the Australian Workers' Union and the Labor Party, saying they're effectively scaring off countries from signing up because of the very kind of thing I mentioned just earlier from Tony Burke earlier today.
Oh, absolutely. AWU, Daniel Walton, I've spoken to you about this before, has made it his business to go to embassies and ensure that embassy officials know about that, 1% group who do the wrong thing. They're everywhere. People who do the wrong thing, but they are in such a tiny minority. The majority of people have incredible stories to tell. Being able to look after families at home, being able to earn far more than they could earn at home, and in conditions now which are vastly improved on where they were. So, look, I just don't accept the talk down by Labor. I don't accept the talk down by AWU. They do not represent the majority of people who experience seasonal work in Australia.
Now, just while we're still talking about issues for farmers, some local farmers have put together, some parcel of land they've fenced off to conserve, and there's a meeting about that on Wednesday.
Yeah, hearing about the Mallee conservation restoring private habitat. So the federal government, and particularly the Nationals, have been focusing on how do we not only meet our emissions targets, head towards net zero 2050, but do it in a way that obviously restores health to our prime land and to our rivers, and also allows people to earn money as well. So the grant that they have received will assist them to ensure that it's healthy land.
Yep, I understand the Murdochs have put it together 13 kilometres of conservation fence to keep the pigs and the goats and overabundant kangaroos out of it. So it's not just a project that's good for, I guess, that native environment, but also what potentially attracts carbon credits as well?
Absolutely. All of this moves towards our ultimate goals, and I'm looking forward to meeting them on Wednesday and hearing what they have to say.
All right, fuel costs have been hitting people pretty hard in regional areas. Of course, metropolitan people have a good grizzle about it, but they're not driving as far as country people. What are you hearing in the electorate, and indeed what people's wishes are about what might be done about it?
Look, I find it interesting. I had ABC contact me a couple of weeks ago about this, and, should we be halving the fuel excise as some are calling for? And I said, look, it should be considered, but we need to actually weigh up what the impact will be. And if we knocked off 50% of our fuel excise, it's 44 cents, including GST. If we took 22 cents off it at $2.50, ultimately it's really not going to make that much difference. It's still going to be quite expensive. My expectation is that it also will be relatively temporary. However, as in the high prices, but the impact on the economy will be $10 billion that we don't put into regional roads. That's the reality. And what I hear around the electorate is people are far more concerned about our fundamentally crappy roads. Not all of them, but there are certainly long stretches, because I've done thousands of kilometres in the last couple of weeks, so I know. And they're worried about that. We can't afford to not invest in maintaining roads. That is of an even higher priority than the current fuel price. And look, once things hopefully settle down overseas and we have greater sustainability ourselves, then, we would hope that the fuel prices will drop.
Well, I noticed the Automobile Association, the national peak body, said there's only a percentage of that fuel tax or excise that's actually spent on roads. That's their concern. And indeed, they've said the GST on the fuel should be the thing that should be being looked at. That might provide more substantial relief. I know you can't comment on the federal budget, but I think the independent candidate looking to run in your seat, Sophie Baldwin, said we should pause the excise altogether. Are we seeing enough spent on local roads or country roads?
I don't think that you could ever spend enough on country roads. I mean, the reality is, for example, Mallee, 83,500 square kilometres with thousands of kilometres of roads, several highways, minor roads, and lots of B double and triple trucks going up and down, heavily laden with grain and all manner of other things. The fact is that it is an ongoing process of repair and maintenance. Is that done in the most efficient way? I don't know. This is something that largely the state government manages, operationalises, and local governments as well. So could it be done better? Don't know. Could we spend more? Always. Should we remove the excise altogether? Absolutely not. And the AAA are always wanting more money spent. I totally understand that. You have to balance that in all of the other expenditure that government, or actually the taxpayer dollars, fund: hospitals, education, defence, a whole range, including NDIS, aged care. There are a lot of black holes that money can go into in government expenditure, and it always has to be balanced.
Now, speaking of black holes, I have to get going in a moment, but Tony Pasin, your colleague across the border in the coalition, he mentioned that the regional MPs, or he said some regional MPs have made a submission to the budget that the federal government should, in more instances, fund 100% of constructing mobile phone towers to encourage the clearing of more black spots. Are you part of that group that's made that call, or what's your view on mobile black spots and federal contribution?
Well, no, Tony didn't approach me about that one, which is kind of surprising because we were both supportive of Julian Leese's bill regarding black spots and regarding towers. Look, I haven't come to a firm position about whether government should consider taking on, for example, all of the infrastructure, the actual towers, that we build those and that all telecommunication companies should have access to putting on their particular dishes and connectors. I think that it's something, I'm certainly not happy with the connectivity that we have across Mallee, and in fact in the last couple of weeks I've held 2 meetings with the regional manager of Telstra with farmers, or this week it was with CFA down in the Grampians, and the issues that people face where they just cannot get connectivity, are certainly not reliable connectivity. So it's an ongoing issue, and I absolutely think that we need to be looking at how we are currently funding it. The universal agreements actually being met effectively enough, and what else we could be doing to improve the situation, particularly for regional communities.
Well, Anne, we'll look forward to catching up with you after the federal budget. I think we both have to get moving, so thank you very much for your generous time today. We might really appreciate it.
Thanks very much, Ricky. Good on you.